I appreciate being here with the family. I have been traveling a lot at a time when I should be investigating a new rocking chair. I have no rocking chairs that I use. I have one upstairs in my house that I throw old clothes on until I can take them downstairs to the laundry. So I'm not using a rocking chair. I remain active. I was in Detroit, political convention, the United Black Front. I came home and I went to the Carolinas for health, healing, festival. Came back again and went to Miami. Came back again and went to Costa Rica. So I'm working every day, and I have several friends, including Dr. Clarke, who trying to show me how to hold this aging body together. So the sisters know how to tell you how to do it.
All right.
Now my notes for tonight is based on the things that I'm working on, and the things that I am learning, not only about us, but about other people.
Right.
Africa under siege.
All right.
I have maintained that for 3,000 years, Africa has been under siege.
Right.
The enemy has either been at the gate, at the door, or in our bed. And because the enemy has been in many places, because we are confused about who the enemy is,
right,
we have the same problem all over the world. And the problem is that we have not understood that every person on the face of the earth to be sovereign functions within a container called nation. And when you function within someone else's container, take on someone else's language, someone else's habits, someone else's economy, you are not sovereign.
Right.
And when you have the geography of a nation,
right,
and do not control the wealth-producing resources of that nation,
right,
you are not free.
All right. All right.
And you cannot be free,
right,
until you control the resources above the earth and under the earth.
Right.
You cannot be free until you control who enters and who exits.
Right.
That the ability to include and exclude is the basis of nation.
Right.
Who comes here?
Right.
Who's at my gate? And on what terms do you enter?
Right.
Traveling in Costa Rica and other parts, the situation of African people are the same the world over. And it's the same situation in Africa. The African does not control the right of entry and the right of exit.
Right.
Until you control the land and the resources of the land.
Right.
You can have as many chauffeurs as you please. You can have many flags as you please, but until you control the gold, the diamonds, the agriculture, until you decide what bread will be eaten and at what price, you are not sovereign and you are not free. I have repeatedly said, and others have said the same thing, Sheikh Anta Diop has proven that 4 river valleys in Africa under proper cultivation can produce enough food for all Africa and 1/3 of Europe. Then why are there African children walking around hungry? For you have mastered the enemy's technique. You have slept with the enemy's woman. You have mastered the enemy's language. But have you mastered the control of the wealth of the land? That is what it's all about. And that is what nation is all about. Now, I was elated about some things in Costa Rica. The African background is mostly Jamaicans. They came there to build the railroad, to do the hard work, to build the railroads into the hinterland, to build the roads for United Fruit Company to take out the agricultural wealth of the country and to become a multi-billionaire company. What did they get? They got little pieces of land that they can raise a vegetable garden. When they consolidated the land, some of the young people began to sell the land back to the people who gave them the land as part of their salary. Until we develop a romance with land and realize they don't make any more land.
All right.
So if you got it, keep it.
All right.
And if you lose it, you are not sovereign.
All right.
Until you can make a decision. Now we are losing our communities because we spent money on Cadillacs, we spent money on a whole lot of things, but we did not buy the real estate in the community. Now, if you approach me in the Harlem community that is owned mainly by the city, you got to approach a real estate owner. I don't have any car, never owned a car, got nothing against the car, couldn't be bothered. But what did I buy? I bought a 4-story brownstone house. I don't owe nothing on it but the annual taxes and the water bill I pay when it comes in. But in that house, from one story to the other, I am sovereign.
All right.
That is my nation.
All right.
With those 4 stories. Sometime in the summertime, when my former wife was in Florida, the kids was in camp, and I could work around the clock, I would walk from floor to floor reading books. And because I had a desk on every floor, I would walk around in my shorts.
Right.
I ain't got nobody to account to but myself. This is my sovereign territory. And if I want to walk around in my sovereign territory half naked, ain't nobody got nothing to do with it but me.
All right.
Right now, because you use somebody else's territory, you get arrested. What I'm saying is that new immigrants, when they come here, they try to consolidate their funds and buy a piece of property, because on that property, they are sovereign. You have to deal with them as an independent entity. In Africa, that is our haven and home in the world. Africans are now selling land to the Europeans. The African don't own 1 inch of land in Europe.
Right.
The African should sell in Africa only the amount of land you're willing to sell him in Europe.
Right.
If you're not willing to sell me a large tract of land in Europe, I won't sell you any land in Africa. That would end that argument, because he's not going to sell his geography no more than he will sell his child or his home. When we have a sense of home instead of the sense of integration, until we stop telling ourselves a lie. Everybody's alike. All people are like, you're a lie. All people are not alike. You have your own distinction. You're not a German. You're not an Italian. So don't get yourself confused with other people. You have a special uniqueness. You've not made the best use of it, but you've got a special uniqueness in the world. You've got a special sense of creativity, but you've been too generous with your creativity. Do you know part of the GNP of this nation, part of the GNP of England is based on our music?
All right.
Why are we so poor while other people are getting rich on our creativity?
That's right.
We must produce people who can preserve our genius, the genius of our children. And we must understand how we've survived. We are on stage without a script, performing before a hostile audience. We ain't got no scenario. We have to make it up as we go along. And we got no friendship in the audience. Nature's circumstances has shaped us in a unique way, different from other people. We have to take advantage of this difference and stop trying to be like other people. We find the same thing everywhere. Everybody is running away from being an African human being. Now they got a new category called multi-ethnic. Multi-ethnic. You understand, no matter how many multi-ethnics are created, you are not going to get membership in the white club. Then all right, let's return the compliment. We'll treat everybody decently, but the African club is exclusive. And we function as a collective out of this African club. And this African club does not consist of anything called a minority. It consists of people in Asia, people in the South Sea Islands. It consists of people in Africa, the Caribbean islands. It consists of over 1 billion people on the face of the earth. Now let's use our imagination. Suppose one of our leaders stand up and say, I will wear no clothes my people don't make. We can create a clothing industry. And suppose one of the leaders said that I will eat no food that didn't come from one of our farms. We could revolutionize agriculture. And suppose one of our leaders, I'm going to pick out a famous one so it'll make you angry, but at least make you think. Suppose a faker like Louis Farrakhan would say, I will not ride in a limousine until my people make a limousine. He could revolutionize and create a black auto industry. But what is he doing? Begging at the feet of Arab slave traders for a handout. am saying you do not make nations by begging at a slave trader's feet.
All right.
And when you personally call for a super religious state, you are a fool ignorant of history, because the worst possible state is a super religious state.
All right.
I am not decrying any form of religion. I defend all of its right to exist.
All right.
Look at Europe as a super religious state before the Protestant Reformation.
All right.
When you know history, you can get some answers.
All right.
Europe was more than a fascist state.
All right.
The church told you how to dress, when to dress. You had feudalism.
All right.
The woman was a vassal.
Right.
You could sell your own wife. Europe was a super religious state under the Catholic Church. Then a mixed up, confused schizophrenic called Martin Luther raised some questions. Now I will admit Martin Luther was kind of confused himself, but out of his confusion he dared to question this super religious state. In addition to challenging the Catholic Church, he saved it, but he made it change. He made it concede that there's another point of view other than Catholicism. There's another religious way other than Catholicism. Now, during the so-called Crusades, and they're not too clear about what they were crusading for, and neither are you. If you think it has something to do with religion, then you have misread history. It was a raping party. They moved across Europe, not only raping everything, wasn't a single woman over 10. It wasn't taken. Not only took the farmer's daughter, took the farmer's corn, his pigs, his cows, in the name of God. This is the last performance of a super religious state. So if you want to talk about fascism that will make Hitler apologize for being a Sunday school boy, now what is he talking about? A super religious state. Then he would travel across the world and says, I went to receive the roses for you. Well, I mean, who sent you? Whose consent did you get to receive any roses? And who told you that roses are what I need? I need some hospitals in my community. I need some homes for the children. I need people to be instructed on how to treat children. I need the attitudes of people change toward the preservation of children. If you don't preserve your children, you've got no tomorrow, because your tomorrow is in the children. If you don't feed yourself, then you become the slaves of those who feed you.
All right.
And you have no sovereignty.
All right.
Now in Costa Rica, we found the same thing we find throughout the Caribbean islands, throughout this nation. People getting involved with shades of color. The European is not involved with shades of color.
All right. There you go.
He will exploit your stupidity talking about shades of color. He don't care who has a little Scottish blood and a little of his blood, because he went out and raped the whole world.
All right.
He created almost 5 million Eurasians.
All right.
They didn't get that by remote control. And yet in the election in South Africa that brought Mandela to superficial power, the colors voted for the whites.
All right.
And the East Indians voted for the whites.
All right.
Now, didn't you learn something from this?
All right.
If you go back and study Mahatma Gandhi's role in South Africa,
All right.
Mahatma Gandhi organized the East Indian,
All right.
but Mahatma Gandhi was anti-African.
All right.
You study the scene on the train when Mahatma Gandhi was put out of the white car. What he resented was the fact that he thought he was a brown-skinned white man. And when he was put in the car, he resented being put in the car with the native African. Because he thought he was a lawyer with the British clients. He had it made. His children trained to be English with good English manners. He's taking his tea at 4. What else do you have to do to be accepted as an Englishman? And they told his almost black behind, not here. Not here. And when he went home, first place he found the United Natives, the United Colored League. That didn't do it. United Natives League. That didn't do it. He wanted to organize everything except the jet blacks. And when he left, Mr. Adoramam, and I've got all these documentation now, made a deal with the South African government. If the blacks have to carry the pass, the Indians will keep quiet about it. If they don't have to carry the pass, they're still quiet. They're still quiet. There has been no united East Indian protest in South Africa in behalf of the blacks. Now, if Nelson Mandela was truly in power, he would ask the question, who is loyal to my house? And if you're not loyal to my house, go to the house of your white fathers. Go to the house of the people who brought you here. And if we understood this, we would say the same thing to the confused mixed breeds. And right here, we would say things about the young fellow who's now the golfer. He made sure to let you know that he's mixed. But he ain't a part of the white club. He is non-white. And the club is pure white, or you don't get in the white club. No matter how fast, how much he plays golf, which is an exclusive white man's game, he will never be part of the white exclusive social club. He was blessed by the melanin based on his father's people. He resent being called a black person. His mother was Thai. His father was black. Why is it that people can be loyal to the mother's side even when the mother wasn't black if she was non-black? And why do they decry the black side of their being? Because propaganda has programmed the blacks to be at the bottom. And I'm saying if you get the more than 1 billion African people together throughout the world, if you end that siege of African people, you've got in Africa, at the front door, you've got the corrupt slave trading Arab who came there as a slave trader. At the bottom in South Africa, you got the Boers and the British. The Boers said that in their creed, God ordained them to look over the lesser breeds, and they've declared the Africans are lesser breeds. They do not feel guilty for what they do to the African, and neither does the Arab. When they have taken you out of God's grace, they don't feel no compunction, no more than stepping on a cockroach. I have said repeatedly Although I have been accused of the contrary, I have nothing against any of the religions of the world. I grew up a Baptist, and I was a Baptist Sunday school teacher. I enjoyed growing up as a Baptist. And yet I have no problem in identifying the Baptists as the loudest and the corrupt and the most interesting of all of the religions and the closest to Africa. And I'll fight you right now if you say a Baptist can't out-sing a mockingbird. So I have my Baptist prejudice, my Baptist preference. I have it in a clause in my will that if I die within the United States, and take me back to bury me in a plot next to my sister. But the 3 Baptist churches where I used to teach in school, I want all of those ministers to come there and say a word and sing me some Baptist songs while I go to wherever they send at the end of that day. Why am I so critical of the Baptists? You got 14 million Baptists. You got more people than the 6 nations. Right. And they do not own a supermarket. They do not own a series of shoe shine. Right. I am saying that the Baptists never find the others for a while. The Baptist church alone has enough potential power to change this nation around. All right. The greatest thing about the Baptists now that whites understand how much money they can over and above the whites, now endorse the Southern white Baptists who endorse slavery. Now want to join with the black Baptists. And the black Baptists are turning over the management to white people right now. So I'm critical of the religion that I grew up in. I want to become effective. You got 14 millions. We Baptists will wear. Look at the shoe factory we have to open. We Baptists will eat some Baptist food. One of our do canning, do ceremonial canning. If we did this, if George Washington Carver had copyrighted everything he invented and left the copyright to Tuskegee, if Tuskegee had gotten royalty on all the things he's done, Tuskegee would be richer than Harvard. Do you know that there was no peanut butter sandwiches before Harvard? On a simple thing. Carver invited some people to his home and made a 6-course dinner, including 2 meats. Didn't have no meat inside. Imitation meat. Except for Carver, the health food industry today wouldn't be in existence. The imitation hamburgers, imitation everything, soya beans. And what did Carver say? God gave it to him, so he's going to give it away. A good man, somewhat naive politically. Suppose he said, give it all to Tuskegee. Whatever you do, give Tuskegee a portion of it. Tuskegee would have to buy land in Georgia. What are they going to extend the school? It would be so big. We fail to use our imagination. If he said, God gave me this, I was given away, God gave it to you as a preserver. Our crisis in the whole African world, including a crisis with fakers like Farrakhan and Melania Karenga, there's a difference between the owner of wealth and the guardian of wealth. You are the guardian of wealth, but not the owner of wealth. Then let's take the Muslim alone. If he was the guardian of the wealth they take in, there wouldn't be a poor. If he understood the Prophet Muhammad, and I maintain they do not understand because they do not read. The first public act of the Prophet Muhammad at a time when a desert-oriented people preferred boys, and they still do. If a woman had 2 girls, and if the third child was a girl, she would be killed. His first public act was to defend the right of women to keep that third child, or the fourth one if it was a girl. How is it that in a religion began by a humane prophet whose first public act was a defense of women, how is it that that is one of the most male chauvinist religions on the face of the earth? Show me one woman who came to state power in Arab Islam. One. In revolutionary Arab African Islam, not only women came to state power, but several women headed the state of Elmina and Zara in Nigeria. A woman who was a defender of Islam. And yet, when Islam swept into West Africa, it was Islamized. You got to understand this, you got to know history. I think most religious people don't read about their own religion. When it came down into West Africa, the Africa was Islamized by Islamized Africans. They knew what to leave alone. And what did they leave alone? The matrilineal system, where the lineage comes down through the female side. Go to West Africa, don't take my word for it. Right now, the women are the masters of the marketplace. Go to East Africa, that was Islamized by Arabs, who changed the matrilineal to the patrilineal. Men are the masters of the marketplace. Now I'm talking about something you can see. So why, even when we adopt other people's religion, we adopt other people's custom. The African has always had a humane custom in relationship to women because the woman is the life giver. The African refers to land in the feminine gender. Now, I am not against Islam, I'm against the ignorance around it. And if you read a book called The Arab Conquest of Egypt, it was a military conquest that has been no humane conquest in Africa by the Arabs. Why are you calling those bunch of corrupt dogs? Less than 20 years after they entered Africa, they forced a treaty on the Sudan, the Bok Treaty, in which the people of the Sudan had to send 360 slaves a year to the north. Read a book called Nubia, Corridor to Africa. Look in the index under the word Bok. Bok Treaty. It's all there. Read a book by Gordon, Arabs in Africa. Read John O'Connor's work on it. I not only know this, but I am acquainted with some of the greatest living Arab scholars on this earth. Read Bernard Lewis's work. Read the parliamentary debates in England. But I'm saying that you, as you take Christianity and created the Baptist church, which is distinctly different from the whites, you can create something distinctly different from Arab Islam and use it as an instrument of liberation and not as part of your oppression. When you build nations, all institutions within a nation must defend the people within a nation. We are so liberal. We let everything come in. You go to Ghana right now, a nation of Jesus freaks. Yeah. Go to Nigeria, a nation of thieves. Yes. What happened to the independence? Get a cab in Ghana. The cab driver, thank the Lord for you getting in the cab. Thank the Lord for your safety. You got white medallions in the back, white medallions in the front. This is a nation Nkrumah created as a role model for what an African state could be. Look how they programmed her back into colonialism, into a colonial mentality. But who's there? The Jehovah's Witnesses. The Mormons are there. The Buddhists are there chanting. The Protestants are there. That's right. And yet, the nation is being sold piece by piece. You got Africans pimping for Germans, recruiting Ghanaian women to go to Germany, and all they're doing is turn them into domestic servants. And some of them don't even have the money to get back home. And Nkrumah should come out of the grave with a horse whip. Get everything inside. The great Admiral, that great Trinidadian who trained Nkrumah politically, who had no patience for ceremony. See, fortunately, I was in Ghana those early years, 58. And I knew what went wrong. Nkrumah used to have a day in the week like Wednesday. Anybody could walk in and wait their turn. So one lady, an old lady, walked in, finally got her turn, came shaking up fist in Nkrumah's face, and Nkrumah was begging for mercy. Said, Mama, Mama, please, Mama, say what you want to say, Mama. What is it? What is it? He was very good at appealing to old women because Africans have great respect for women the age of their mother. So finally she told him, you promised the lights would come to our community. I said, where is your community, Mom? She told him. He said, the lights are being strung 1 mile a day. How long have you been away from home, Mom? Mom, I've been away from home 3 days. He said, if you had stayed at home, Mom, the lights would be at your community 2 days ago. Now Nkrumah got to come back to her community and turn on the lights. Nkrumah promised. I'm working for Nkrumah newspaper now, the Evening News. I'm working for reporters. Well, I was paid a nice. I was in Ghana broke, and he discovered me. Old Harlem History Club. I told him I was broken with Pittsburgh Curry, sent me a bounce check. He just laughed. What you got? He said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put your olive behind to work. And gave me a job. 9 pounds a week. That was a good living. The pound was worth $2.40 at the time. And here I'm even sending my clothes out to be clean. I'm even washing my own clothes out. That's an aristocrat. So I'm going to
Nkrumah with this entourage to turn these lights on. Got to the edge of the city. They have ceremonial snacks. They got to kill a chicken, pour blood on the men dancers' feet. They got to dance until the blood is dry. His pathway fit to be killed. We got to kill a nation. Wow, this ceremony, you put the damn chickens. Nkrumah just laughing and enjoying himself. Everybody enjoying themselves. It's their pathway. No patience. And so that's over. Here's another snack. Now the women got to put a little blood on the women dancers. Got to dance till that gets dry. We finally enter the time. All these snacks are banquets. And he said, when are we going to turn on the lights and go back to cruising? We ain't going to turn on those lights until it get dark. And the old lady going to see those lights turn on. She's not going to see them. So finally we have the night ceremony, another banquet, more dancing. The crew told the leader, turned on the lights all over town. The old lady gets up and makes a speech. She's the one that brought him, that brought him to the village, And she's a little hero. The crew doesn't enjoy yourself. Padmore's put to BQ. Chicken, snakes, everything. We got the village. Let's get out here and go back to Accra and do our work. And Nkrumah know enough about tradition. If you don't respect African tradition, you ain't gonna get nothing done. You just don't kid yourself by it. You just don't traditionally come in and turn on those lights and go out. You got to go through the ceremony. All these ceremonies. Finally the lights are on. We geared to take the entourage back to the crowd. The old lady's happy. He's building a nation. And what made him lose the nation? When those fakers around him told him, don't waste time, seeing the people. We'll tell the people, When he cut himself off from the people, when his mentor, his teacher, Joseph B. Downfall, couldn't see him. Joseph B. Downfall was a little arrogant, but he was still Ghana's greatest scholar and revered. And he never called him Nkrumah, Frank. He called him his old Christian name. It was called Francis K. And he would go to him and say, Francis, stop talking nonsense. When Nkrumah failed to settle that argument between himself and Donkwa, put Donkwa in jail, and Donkwa died in jail, which was the worst thing that could have happened to Nkrumah. Nkrumah started getting some South African communist advisors who were really beneath it all Zionists, who are now still living in Israel. They advised him, you have to go through Nkrumah's appointment secretary, became a Zionist, Bezana, still alive. The real story has been told. Nkrumah began to distrust some of his own people. After he put Donkwa in jail, he became unpopular. The market women in Accra literally helped to put Nkrumah into power. They would have cloth with Nkrumah's picture on their breast and Nkrumah's picture on their behind. They would walk down the street, shaking their behind, vote for Kwame. They would wrap your food, bananas or something, vinos, vote for Kwame. Crowa Ducio, who's from Asante, vote for Kwame. And Kwame made another mistake. I'm talking about nation building now. He hadn't even got his foot solid in his own nation. He reached across Africa to marry this white Coptic Egyptian woman. Now, Nkrumah was a Tweed. The Kan people in Ghana consist of the Tweed, the Fanti, and the Akan, and the Asante. The Asante is the warrior. The Twi are the tinsmith and the technician. The Panther is the great intellects along the coast. All the crew had to do the unified Ghana, he's from the bottom. If you go to the queen mother of Asante and let her choose his wife, then that means the Tweeds and the Asantes will be united by blood. The Asantes have already told the Panties, you are great talkers, but no, you're not great fighters. If you don't behave yourself, I'll come down and kick your butt, so you are my cousin. There's some of that. We made that technical mistake. You want to unify Africa before you can unify Ghana. I yield to nobody in my admiration for the man. And when he built an ideological institute, he built it on Marxist concept. Marxist concept don't fit Africa. If you're going to build it on a socialist concept, build it on African socialism that existed not only before Karl Marx, but before Europe. Because Africa came out of sharing societies, no capitalist societies. They came out of collective societies. And you have to understand, what was Africa when Africa was at its best? They used collective discipline and high morality. This is why in Costa Rica, I said Africans built a society that had no jails because no one had ever gone to one. How are you going to go to jail when the concept of justice is built into the family? Your grandmother could be head of the Supreme Court. My great-grandmother was head of the Supreme Court. Anything had to be settled. She listened and listened, and finally she tapped her cane and take a carb pipe out of her mouth and announced what she said was the end of it. There was no retreat. And one of the great joys of my life, every time someone's going to give me a little beating for something I was justified, should be beaten for, because I was always getting into mischief, always taking things apart, couldn't put them back together again. Hear that beautiful words from my mouth, if you but just about to give me a licking, send the boy to me. Boy, give me a switch. I get a switch. Anything she said, she can't hit hard, she's over 100. She gave me a lick and she lectured. And she tell me about her husband who was sold into slavery to Virginia as a breeder. And she would tell me about the last African that came over before emancipation and spoke in grunts. And she lectured about turkeys, everything in the world, nobody come home at the end of the day except the darn turkey. And she was head of the turkey concession, so she was the only one in the family with a feather bed. And she was the absolute authority in the family. But she gave me another lick, she gave me another hug, more hugging than licking. When it's all over, she finished telling her story. She would go to the kitchen and cut a piece of potato pie and a glass of cold buttermilk. Nicest eating I've ever had in my life. I often say faith is kind enough to show me the real face of God. It turned out to be Grandmother Mary. All I'm going to do is shrug my shoulders and say, you know, Grandma, this is the greatest trick you ever played on me. I suspected all along that you was God. But when you grow up with this kind of family tradition, even growing up poor, don't defeat you. You still have determination. When you grow up with people believing in you, when you grow up hardly in the city and thread needles for old ladies. Never in your fondest imagination dream that you'd ever be blind yourself. Run errands. And when you hear passing the porches, they don't have porches up here. Old ladies rocking on the porch. That little Bubba Clarke, that boy gonna be something. Got a good head on his shoulder. He who God knows him. That boy gonna lead us out of this mess. I ain't thinking about leading nobody out of nothing. But they made me think about it. In order to please them, I at least tried to make some kind of contribution that would lead us out of this mess. I am saying the difficulty that we are having with our children today is that nobody told them something is expected of you. You are expected to lift us higher than where you found us. You are expected to make a contribution that will preserve us all. You are expected to understand the meaning of nation and add to the structure of nation. If we had went wrong at the fork of a road, take us back to the fork of the road and read those signboards again until we find our way, until we find a signboard saying African unity, Pan-Africanism, education for a new reality, until we stop copying out and imitating other people and begin to innovate on things that's distinctly our own, until we love ourselves well enough to stop mutilating ourselves, until we stop wearing artificial wigs from dead white people. We stop making a color out of color. I like my skin the way it is because it reflects my mother and my father, and I will not dispute that. And I will offend them by saying, I don't like what you gave me. If it came out light, then that's what they gave me, and that's what I have to live with. That don't make me any better or worse than anyone else. If it came out black, thank you for giving me some of that good stuff that God and nature gave you. No problem to me. I dig it. I wear it well. If it's a problem to someone else, it's their problem, not my problem. We must look at ourselves the way our enemies look at us. Yes. He don't care who's light. He don't care who's jet black. He don't care who's almost white. He put all of us in one bag, shake up the bag, and put one word on that bag. There you go. You better understand. We better stop all this nonsense. All right? Stop this nonsense by color. All these runaway people, go ahead and run. Go to your white father's house. Let me see if you open the door. Go to your white father's table. Let me see if he feeds you. He'll introduce you to some reality. Remember, he sized you and went into the legislation of his countries and made law against you sitting beside him on public transportation, though he is your father. He's got no humanity. If he has no humanity, that means we have to create a common humanity for all of us. We cannot break ourselves down based on shades of color, who have a little Scottish blood, who have a little English blood. You had no control over it one way or the other.
You need not apologize. You need not boast. The nation of tomorrow is going to have to be built with all of us. And not one fraction placed against another. I will end this by telling you what I'm doing. I'm finishing polishing a book called Pan-Africanism or Perish. I maintain that either we unite and preserve ourselves or we go out of business as a people. If you can't do that, measure yourself for neck irons and leg irons and go on back into slavery because there's nothing else for you to do. I did a small book for the Phelps Stokes Fund for education for a new reality in the African world. I maintain the only legitimate education for black people is the education to control a nation. You have to handle high finances and low finances. You got to handle products, income, outgoing. You got to make your own shoes. And I'm willing to tell you to start with your underwear. I'm meeting a group of black manufacturers in Washington a week or so. They're manufacturing more than I ever dreamed, not only personal care products, different branches, underwear that I had advocated. And I had advocated that in St. Louisville, Kentucky. And the person, 3 years passed, and the person sent me 6 pairs of underwear free of charge. In another place, I got, this person made some fancy African-oriented underwear. I said, man, if you put on a pair of these underwear and just roll with me hard for a lady to say no. Beautiful design. Got 6 pairs. So I got 12 pairs of underwear free of charge. Just advocating. I'm going to start advocating a car. See, all the car. Francis question, well, they said, I always ask who likes a Mercedes Benz? Everybody in the audience raised their hand. And when they put it down, she said, who can make a Mercedes Benz? I'm saying that we're going to have to stop doing without things until we learn how to produce those things. Our employment and our intention is going to be a rehearsal for nationhood. We have to leave a legacy behind for our children. And they, in turn, have to leave a legacy of the pursuit of total sovereignty and freedom, not only for their children, but for the still more beautiful ones